But we are going to get to Dana in Florida. How are you?
Hi. I hate to call. I feel like I'm panicking, and
please don't panic.
I always admired my sister because she had such sound faith. You know, I know what I know, and I wanted it too. And I attended theology. I went to the seminary. I studied, and I was in the musical ministry, and she was so proud of me. And that's all I wanted, was to make her proud. And I started thinking, this is bullshit. I have a dog that I love, and I wouldn't demand that he fear me and love me, or I'm going to kick him for eternity. And I was an atheist towards the end of this while I was, saving souls. And I finally admitted that I was an atheist about 7 years ago, but I kept quiet. And I moved 800 miles away, not because of that, but just, life happens. And my sister's at the end stage of her life, and so am I. We are both suffering from illnesses. And she got word through the grapevine and called me Monday night and said, are you an atheist? And I said, well, why do you ask? And she said, well, I've heard, and I want you to know you're going to hell. And I don't want to go to heaven without you. And you better get right with God. And I told her, I said, for 7 years I've kept quiet about this while I listened to you, talk about God and you know what you know and everything. And she kind of ripped me to shreds, and I just thought, I thought, who can I grab? And I went online and I found an atheist page, and I was telling them, and I let it slip. I was suicidal at that point. And there were about 20 people in there. I mean, they told me to call a suicide hotline, and I said, please, if anyone on a hotline tells me they're going to pray for me, I'm taking them out with me. And they talked to me and calmed me down. But 6 days have passed, and I'm not suicidal. I'm just so hurt. I don't know what to do with it.
Well, first of all, you're not alone. There are a lot of people who have been mistreated and abandoned by their families because of this topic. So know that there's a whole community of people that relate to what you're describing. I'm sorry for the additional challenges that you're facing on top of this. It just makes it even more egregious to me.
I was in a very weakened state when this happened. I just don't feel able to stand up and fight back.
Sure. One of my worst memories. One of my worst memories of fundamentalism is of an elderly woman who was dying of cancer who pulled me aside to tell me how afraid she was that she wasn't right with God and how she feared that she would go to hell. She was very, very sweet woman, kind, one of the best people I've ever known in my life, terrified that she was going to die and go to hell. And this is what was bothering her in the last days of her life because religion had put that torture into her head. And I gave a talk one time where I mentioned how in religion, especially in these brands of Christianity that are hell believers, they have this idea that, oh, you love the person. Like your sister, you say she called and she said, I love you and I want you to be in heaven with me, right? This is what she's saying. And then you say she turned and ripped you to shreds. And one of the things I've called out, and this is what happens when people are younger and often having problems with their parents when they end up outed, is that the parents will say, well, we love you and we don't want you to go to hell, we want you to go to heaven, and then they will proceed to tell the person that they can't tell their siblings what they think or what they believe, that they will not talk about it in that house, that they will continue to go to church, that they will, and they start treating the child like, they don't treat them like somebody that cares. And one of the analogies that I used, I said, suppose that your child came to you and said they had thoughts of suicide. Would you tell them, I don't want you to talk to this about anybody. I don't want you to tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know about this. And I care about you and I love you and I don't want you to die, but you keep your mouth shut about it. And we want you to pretend like you're fine and like you're not suicidal. That's how we're going to proceed. If they really cared, then they wouldn't act like they act. So this idea that I'm only treating you this way because I love you and I want you to come to heaven with me is not true. Because if you were in a state where it had nothing to do with the religion and you were in some way challenged or in danger, they would never say the response is for you to just keep your mouth shut or for you to just snap out of it, right? I mean, you would want to help the person, but it doesn't sound like she was trying to help you. It sounds like she was just trying to threaten and intimidate and scare and guilt you. Yeah.
Well, she always admired me so much because I, was a believer, and when I was writing to these other atheists on this, quick, Facebook kind of thing. I thought I should have lied. It's all my fault. I should have said, praise God, no, I'm not atheist. And one of the women that I hold in high regard, who told me to call, she said, what you're reacting to is the fact you were unfairly set up. Yeah. Because she knew when she called what your answer was going to be. Yeah. And you were sad. I mean, it came, what do you call it when you just hit upside the head?
You were blindsided. You were blindsided. Yeah.
Dana, you asked how you're going to fight back. And, I mean, my answer is...
I'm not going to fight back. I got nothing. No. I've got nothing. I mean...
You don't need to... change.
Well, I mean, defend myself. I don't mean fight back.
Sorry, you did say defend yourself, but what I'm saying is you don't need to do that either. I mean, the reason you're hurting right now is, I mean, if a complete stranger said to you that you were going to hell, you might not care as much, but I think you're feeling very sad about the damage of the relationship with someone that you're close to.
I love her. She was always my idol, and I tried to follow in her footsteps. Mm-hmm. And I faked it. I faked it for years, and I thought, I'll eventually believe this crap.
Right.
And I never did. I couldn't, but I tried.
But
should we plug secular therapy?
Oh, yeah. Do you know it?
I don't know it offhand, but maybe they can find it and put it up on the screen. But there is a group, if you have access to a computer and to Google, there's a group called the Secular Therapy Project, and they can try to help get you in touch with a secular therapist, with somebody that could talk to you, because it sounds like you could use some real support. I think that the atheist community is a really, often those forums are very supportive. And
Secular Therapy is the Secular Therapist Project is from the Recovering from Religion Foundation, and you can find it at seculartherapy.org.
Yeah.
I went to something. It was recovering from. This
might be
woman suggested it, and it was pending, and I applied, and I guess I'm waiting. I don't know, but in the meantime.
Well,
I hate to bother you all, but
no, you're not bothering us. I mean, I just want to make sure.
I've got to get out of this emotional horror I'm in.
The blog too. I suggest as well, Dana, that you go to our blog. I would say go ahead and post a little bit about which caller you were, and I think you'll get a lot of support and feedback there as well.
Right. What blog are you talking? Of
you know the
Austin,
URL?
Texas?
Oh, freethoughtblogs.com/AXP. But I also want to make sure that before you go, you you understand that you are not to blame for the way that your sister thinks of you.
Correct.
I mean, it's not your fault that she said those hurtful things to you, and it's not really your fault that you tried to stay in her good graces by hiding what you believe now. And the way your sister chose to react to what you told her, this very personal thing, those are her own issues. And I know it hurts to deal with somebody who you're very close to telling you off like this, but it's not up to you to argue with her and prove that you're worth speaking respectfully to. It's up to her to process her own issues and repair the relationship, and she may not. And you can help her and talk to her lovingly and tell her how you're feeling. But you can't make another person treat you the way you want to be treated. And that's a real shame, because you deserve to be treated with compassion and respect.
Sure.
I asked her, I said, you worship someone who could send your sister to hell forever? Mm-hmm. And she said, well, you asked for it.
Yeah, you sent yourself, right? That's what they always want to say. It's that somehow you set this up all by yourself, and it wasn't like a system that they, I don't know. It's a mess. What religion does to people and gets mostly good people to do to other people, it's reprehensible in cases like this. And I'm sorry that you are being the victim of something like this.
Well, I appreciate that. I was trying to keep quiet about it.
I don't think you should keep quiet. I think you should reach out to as many forums and support groups as you can find until you find one that you feel really comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And definitely, like I say, there are a lot of people that are going to relate to this story. That if in the past, I've heard people say that it gives them a lot of comfort to find other people that share that experience and that can understand them. And I think you can find that in a lot of the atheist forums, because your experience is very common, unfortunately.
I found the understanding that kept me from doing something permanent. It was, I think, Atheist of Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I landed, and that's where I got the help.
Okay.
They kept me from doing something permanent. I just can't get rid of this vomiting, urge to vomit over.
I think it's going to take a while. I mean, things impact us in different ways, and clearly this has traumatized you. I mean, you are traumatized, and it may be a lot to do with your situation, because you described that you're facing a lot of other challenges right now. Like you said, you feel like you're in a weakened state, and I understand that. A lot of times we can hold up to things pretty well, and then it becomes that last straw in a pile of stresses that becomes the thing that breaks us. So
I can handle 2 or 3 or 4 things, but suddenly I'm
carry
weak.
A lot of straws, and
weak,
then there's the one. I understand, and so please do reach out to other people. Don't feel like you have to sit there by yourself and not express this and not get support. You can definitely get support. It's out there.
Yeah.
Secular. You think secular exists in Florida?
The Secular Therapy Project? Yeah, in fact, their outreach try to hook you up with therapists that are in your area that can help you.
Okay. All right, thank you. I hope you have time to go to another call.
Well, I hope it gets better for you.
Yeah, I hope you'll be okay.
Thank you. I appreciate both of you.
Yeah, thank you for your call.
All right. Bye.
Goodbye.